sportsradiodetroit.com.
Let's go out and leave it all on the field. It's going to start with us. We got to make plays in order for us to win. All you got to do is do your assignment, nothing more. Let's go. Playmakers on 3. 1, 2, 3, playmakers.
Matthew leans in, he's got it, wants to throw. Pressure comes set at the screen, got it to Riddick. Riddick to 15, Riddick 10, Riddick 5, Riddick end zone! Touchdown, Detroit Lions! Here's to Abdullah, right side, got a hold. Abdullah 20, Abdullah 10, shakes the man at the 8, and dances into the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions! The action fake, he's gonna throw. Woes does, it is picked up by Lions! Coming back the other way off the deflection. Glover Queen, back to the house. Touchdown, Detroit Lions! 38 seconds left. Bradford's got it on third down. Sets and throws. It is intercepted. Darius Slay's got it at the 30. Slay inside the 25. Matthews got it. Looks right. Throws. Caught. Golden Tate. End zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Barkley takes the snap. Back to pass. Looks. Rolling. Hit. Still alive. Now he's not. Going down. Sack. Back outside the 50-yard line. Kerry Hyder's got it. Backing up, looking for somewhere to go. Stafford's going to tuck it and run. Stafford at the 5, 3, 2, 1, end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Oh, Matthew took it home.
Lions SRD on sportsradiodetroit.com.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Lions SRD here on sportsradiodetroit.com, celebrating a win, a rare win. I don't care if Aaron Rodgers is playing or not. Anytime you can get a win at Lambeau Field, you take that, you run to the bank, and you cash in that check, celebrating a 30-17 win over the Green Bay Packers. I'm Ben Sloggy, joined with also Marty Stouffer. Marty, only the second time in 26 years that the Lions have won in Green Bay. They are 2-0 on Monday Night Football, 2-1 in primetime games this season. It's got to be fun, right?
I think it's an absolute blast. You called it you called it last week when we talked. The fan base was split 50-50. Hey, that's a great win. Well, yeah, but it wasn't Aaron Rodgers. So you called that last week, and it was funny. I saw you. I believe it was Tuesday. I think it was. You had a thing up there on your Facebook page where, hey, it's a win is a win in Green Bay. It doesn't matter if it's Rodgers or not. It's a win is a win, and you're absolutely right. I was excited with it, and that 30-17 score is misleading because I look at it as 30-10 because the last touchdown came in garbage time. The Lions were just closing out the game.
Garbage time and then some. It was like with 5 seconds left, but
yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's something that, and the reason why, this is why I have the mantra that I have. I remember when the Lions went in to Lambeau, and there was a quarterback, wasn't supposed to do much, and Matt Flynn, and we all know what Matt Flynn did.
Torched us.
Threw for 5 touchdowns. You're right, Marty. Torched the Lions and made the Lions look stupid. Now, I understand there's a pride thing there where you're like, I want to beat the best team at full strength to show that we've turned the corner. I get that. That's great. That's what, awesome. But I don't care. I will take the win whenever I can take the win. If you're not 100%, that's not my fault. You have to still win the games that are in front of you and are on your schedule. The fact that guy is on the sideline watching his team just get demolished, I don't care. I don't have sympathy for it. I will gladly uncork a bottle of wine and feed him cubes of sharp cheddar cheese. Just be like, that's right, Aaron. You're getting your butt whooped. Here's another cheese cube. You want a sip? You want a sip? I don't care. I don't care that the Packers have Brett Hundley, who is now leading the league in, well, when I say leading, in a bad way. He has the fewest yards in passing attempts, by a wide margin. I think his average yards per passing attempt is somewhere in the neighborhood of 3.5 to 4 yards tops. So it's not great. I relish in that. I relish in an opportunity that Jordy Nelson can't torch the Lions secondary down the seam. But also, here's another thing. Aaron Rodgers does not play defense. And the Lions took advantage of a very, very opportunistic Green Bay Packers. I mean, that's just me. That's my take on it. Because everyone's also going to say, well, yeah, Aaron Rodgers was there. Okay. But yeah, he doesn't play defense. He's not a defender. Granted, yes, the game might be closer, but are we still talking like a 30-27 Lions win? Who knows? But these are just some of the numbers that are really, really impressive. I'm going to find them right here. This is what happened on Monday. Matthew Stafford not only got to 200 career touchdown, becoming the fourth youngest player in NFL history to reach that milestone at the age of 29. His touchdown passes, his 2 touchdown passes, were number 16 and 17. That has been thrown at Lambeau Field, extending his record for the most by a visiting player in that venue. I will give you 3 guesses. Who do you think is trailing Matthew Stafford in that category? And I'll give you a hint. I'll be nice.
One of them's Fran Tarkenton.
Look at you, Marty Stouffer. On the nose first guess. Nice job.
Yeah,
dude.
Fran Tarkenton. I forget who the other one was. They were talking about it. And I made a mental note, and clearly I didn't write the whole thing down, but I made a mental note because I wanted to talk about it. Yeah, Stafford, Tarkenton, and I forget who the third one was, but yeah, that's a pretty cool stat.
That's a great stat. Good work. Just first, I thought you maybe needed a couple of guesses.
I'm not just a pretty face. I am not just a pretty face here on Lions SRD.
No, you definitely, sir, are not. No, that was good. But yeah, Fran Tarkenton had 13 in his career at Lambeau Field. Matthew Stafford now has 17. So, I mean, it's good. And when people are like, hey, why are you paying Stafford all that money? That's why. But one thing, Marty, I know is kind of eating away at you is still, no matter what, the lack of a running game was something that irritates you. Just go ahead and have at it.
Yeah, we talked about this before we started recording, and we talked, and I think we both came to the same conclusion that it's a scheme thing. I had asked you if you thought it was mainly scheme, a lack of talent, and you said you believe it's scheme, and I agree with you. But I mean, that being said, you've got, and this is a stat for later on as well. You've got guys like Amir Abdullah, Theo Riddick, and for reasons that I don't understand, Dwayne Washington. None of the 3 of those guys can rush to save their lives. They're terrible. Well, statistically, they're terrible. I'm sure they're all decent running backs in the right scheme. I don't think this is for them. I just don't think this offense is geared for those guys unless they're catching the ball out of the backfield. But, I mean, my God, the stat that I want to throw out there is I think it's 2.8, I believe, is the average yard per carry for the Lions rushing. Mm-hmm. And the reason that stat is relevant is because the Lions are getting ready to play a Cleveland Browns defense. Keep in mind, Cleveland Browns are allowing 2.9 yards per carry for opposing running backs. The Lions aren't even averaging that. So, for everybody that wanted to see this team get back on Stafford's shoulders and let him throw the ball, well, you're going to get your wish because we don't have a guy that can carry the ball consistently or do it well. So Stafford's going to have to go back to being one-dimensional.
Yeah, no, and that's an excellent point because, yeah, when we start talking about the Browns, that's one of the things I wanted to talk about. And the thing that is killer, too, is while it was nice, Amir Abdullah got a red zone touchdown, even though Ricky Wagner looked lost beyond belief, but I didn't think he was expecting Amir Abdullah to cut inside, which I don't know why you would do that as a running back anyways when you clearly can have a 300-pound man seal the outside for you, but whatever, I'm not an NFL running back, and Amir Abdullah is, so he wins that argument every time. But the thing that's irritating is while it's all well and good that the Lions won and everything like that, we obviously have to talk about some negatives. And it reared its ugly head again. This red zone team sucks.
Yes.
There's no other way to put it. Like, saying that the Lions' red zone offense sucks is being nice about it. I mean, Matthew Stafford, everyone's like, hey, run a quarterback sneak. Matthew Stafford just falls to the ground. That doesn't work. You have Amir Abdullah who said the week before, I want to be the go-to option in the red zone. Okay, you get a touchdown, great. Then you fumble twice, and you lost one of them. Like, there was one where he literally is going down, and out of nowhere, he just drops the ball. And I know fumbling is not exactly, like, new with Amir Abdullah, because it was a knock on him when he was playing in Nebraska in college, and it's reared its head a couple of times here in Detroit. But you just look at this offense in the red zone, and they just can't get anything accomplished. And like I said, even like one thing I thought, just going back to the whole scheming argument, because this is something that wasn't really talked about. You have Jared Abadaris, who was a Packer, who the Packers cut because he couldn't stay healthy, and he's in the game. I don't know why, as he's going in motion, you don't call a pop pass to the guy. As he's going in motion, you quickly snap the ball, pop the pass in front of him. He just takes it out to the edge. There were so many times Abadaris was used in motion only to still run the football off guard, basically off guard, in between the guard and tackle, for nothing. There's just no creativity down there. And I thought that would have been perfect. Because I will say this, and I looked this up because a lot of people were saying, wow, like you can tell the Lions are just running the football on first down. And I was like, yeah, it does seem that way. I want to look into it a little bit further. At one point, I think it was 7 of 9, 7 of 9 or 7 of 8, where the Lions on first down ran the football. And that's a scheme thing. And that's just pure scheme and coaching. Because it's something where one of the runs was Agnew again. They used Agnew on a sweep, which if you're in the red zone and you see Agnew, you know it's going to be a sweep. But they always moved Abadaris in motion. And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, pop pass. Let the guy score on his former team. Let him have a moment at Lambeau. But it doesn't even come across. I don't even know if it's even on the play sheet for JBC, but it's stuff like that. And we've seen the wizardry of Matthew Stafford using a quarterback sneak or being smart about the football when he's under center on the 1 yard line. He used it to fake a spike and beat, I think it was Dallas 3 years ago. He knows how to do that, but yet there's that quarterback sneak where he gets the football. There's no push on the offensive line, and he basically falls down on the 1 yard line because he can't go anywhere. I mean, that's where you're just watching this team, and that was the thing that was the most concerning out of Monday night, because the past 2 weeks on primetime football, what does the nation see? Nice, fun offense, can't do a darn thing inside the 20. And if luckily, the schedule gets a lot easier. The only winning team that you're going to face in the next 8 games are the Vikings. But outside of that, you should win the rest of your games, technically. You're going to be favored in all of them. But if you can't score in the red zone, that's just ugly.
It's maddening. It really is. I mean, the red zone offense in the 20, you look at the guys on paper and you're like, this should be a team that's scoring in bunches in the red zone. But, Dwayne Washington and his half-hearted attempts, Abdullah and his fumbles, and you got Theo Riddick, who I'll go to my grave, hating him as a running back, not as a player, but as a running back. You don't have a good running back on this team that you can rely on. So teams are going to know that Stafford, if they're going to score in the red zone, Stafford's going to have to throw it. So that just makes defensive play calling so much easier. And you You can't rely on Ebron because he drops it so much. Now, granted, he looked pretty good on Monday night, but that's not that's not the average for him. I mean, he's usually pretty rotten anymore. So clearly, you really only have to cover Jones and Tate. Mm-hmm. It makes the offense really, really one dimensional, and that's where we're lucky to have Matt Prater. I mean, at least we're not settling for goose eggs.
That is true. That is one thing that the Lions have always had. They've always had a reliable field goal kicker. So whether it's, Prater, whether it's Jason Hanson, Eddie Murray, you've always had a guy that is very reliable that can get you points when you stall out. But, I mean, that's one thing, though, too. Like, I wanted to talk about, because we talked about it at the beginning of the year, right before they started playing games. Because we knew that the first 8 games were going to be murder. After looking back at all 8 games, 4-4, are you happy with that through this 8-game slate, or are you still disappointed that they didn't finish above 500 in the first part of the season?
I'm disappointed because I think, and I say we because I'm a diehard Lions fan, so please indulge me on that. I think we're a better team than 4-4. The Steelers game was winnable. Carolina was winnable. The Saints was winnable in the second half. I mean, the Lions looked bad in that first half. There's no doubt about it. But that game was winnable. I think we should have at least been 6-2, but I'll settle for 4-4. I'm not mad at the world about it. I just think they could have finished better than that in the first half. But 4-4 isn't terrible. I remember when we started talking about this in the preseason, you said if we come out 4-4, we should be all right, and that's exactly what they are. 4-4 is not terrible when you consider the how bad things could be. With the injury to Decker and the abysmal running game, and the defense has bailed us out quite a bit. Stafford has seemingly found his, as I saw on Twitter today, seemingly found his swagger again, which I don't know where anybody thinks that went.
Yeah.
I don't know why anybody thinks he lost his swagger when they were clearly just changed the play system a little bit. They were trying to run the ball and establish the run, and I think they're realizing they can't do it. So you're going to see a lot more Stafford passing, just like we were used to.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, 4-4 is not terrible. I mean, I'll take it.
Yeah, and the funny thing was too. I mean, we're still talking about a Falcons game where we're still talking about is Golden Tate still completing the process of the catch? Was he truly down or not? This, that, the other thing.
Right.
That could have been easily a win and really propelled this team because they would have been 3-0, 4-0 after beating the Vikings on the road. But, yeah, I mean, the Panthers, you should have beat them. The fact you didn't beat the Panthers, even looking back in hindsight, that's pretty bad that you couldn't beat the Panthers, even though the Panthers were down 10 points last Sunday to the very same Falcons and still found a way to win. So there's that. The Saints game was just a debacle from the beginning.
Yep.
And you should have definitely beat the Steelers. I mean, that's the one game I look at the entire first 8 games. That's the one that irritates me the most. It's not the Falcons game, even though that would have been nice. Start the year 3-0. Everyone's feeling great. Seeing after Golden Tate scored that touchdown, seeing Ford Field on the wide shot, everyone go nuts. It was beautiful. It was fun. It was really fun to watch everyone get, that excited, only to have their hopes and their Sundays ruined at that point. But the Steelers were a team, and I mentioned it last week, where, yes, one guy torched you, but it wasn't the household names that you thought were going to torch you. Le'Veon Bell didn't do very much of anything. Longest run was 8 yards. Antonio Brown, former Central Michigan Chip, didn't do anything of note because Darius Slay is playing at a Pro Bowl level. Ben Roethlisberger, without Juju Smith-Schuster's stat line, was very pedestrian at best. I mean, that's a game where you're in the red zone 5 times, you score once, you win. And that's the one that irritates me. They should have been 5-3 through 8 games, and this is the best part. Cleveland on Sunday at the Bears the following week. Your only tough game, supposedly, is Minnesota. After that, you have the Ravens, who aren't good or consistent. They're using a practice squad running back from Seattle as a running back. Outside of that, Joe Flacco's not tearing up the world like he used to. You have the Buccaneers, who have fallen off the face of the earth, then they're suffering the Hard Knocks curse. Then you have the Bears again. You have the Bengals, who, for whatever reason, can't play consistent football. And then you have the Packers again at home. And they even mentioned this on Monday Night Football. There's no guarantee Aaron Rodgers is coming back. He has 13 screws and 2 plates holding his collarbone together. They even made a point of that when John Gruden wasn't talking about, stuffing the turkey hole or whatever he was talking about.
Oh, God, yes. That was a 5-minute diatribe I didn't need to hear.
Which, like I said on Twitter, I've played and covered football a lot in my life. That was honestly the first time I've ever heard that term. Which is not surprising because John Gruden's borderline crazy. But, again...
Did you hear the... And I don't mean to rag on Gruden, because I actually think he's brilliant.
No, he
once
is.
Once you decide for what he's saying, I think he's really brilliant. But you probably heard me there in Detroit. Did you hear me groan when Gruden said, now that Aaron Rodgers and Sam Bradford are on IR, Stafford's the best quarterback in the division? What the hell? Like you're saying Sam Bradford's better than Matt Stafford? John Gruden's basically only saying Stafford's better than Mitch freaking Trubisky? Like, really? He's the 3rd best quarterback in Gruden's opinion in the NFC North? Like, are you kidding me? I texted my buddy about this, and I said, I love Gruden, but sometimes he just makes you want to take a hammer to your fingers just to avoid listening to his stupidity. Because there are times, like, it's mind-boggling. And it's just, 3rd best in the division, Ben, is what he said, basically what he said Stafford was. I don't get it.
Don't hate me. I can see where he's coming from. I mean, obviously Aaron Rodgers is number 1. I don't think anyone's debating that point.
Clearly he is, yes.
But I don't know. Like, Sam Bradford's brittle. He's always been brittle. But I will say that Stafford has more arm talent than Sam Bradford. But I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, that is a very... Like, I can see why he would say that. Like, I really do. But I don't know. I'm also with you, though. Like, I hear that, and I kind of roll my eyes. And it's like, I still think Stafford's second, but it is a close second because Stafford makes boneheaded plays still every now and again. I mean, he's not perfect by any means, even though there was a nice little stat on ESPN that on the homepage, if you actually want to read on their website, against the Blitz on Monday, Matthew Stafford still threw for 265 yards against the Blitz and didn't throw an interception. So that was pretty cool.
That's pretty damn good.
That's really good, considering you still don't have a left tackle. But,
right.
It's just, like, when you see stats like that, then you think, well, can Sam Bradford do that? I know Aaron Rodgers can because he's done it. But, like, yeah, you think, you go down, like, Case Keenum can't do that. Sam Bradford can't do that. Teddy Bridgewater can't do that, and he's injured. But, it's just, and we know Mitchell Trubisky and Mike Glennon cannot do that. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think he's third by any stretch of the imagination because you have to look at it from that standpoint and kind of just break down the numbers and be like, well, yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess Gruden's wrong because, again, you have to look at those stats, and it doesn't make sense when he says that. So, yeah, I'm right there with you. And then what did you make of that? The fact that this was the first time ever an opponent has never punted at Lambeau Field?
Yeah, that's insane. And the funny thing is, I didn't even realize that had happened until sometime Tuesday afternoon. I was at one of my stops getting checked in, and I was in line getting checked in because I'm a vendor, and I was waiting for someone to check me in. And I was scrolling through Twitter as I was waiting, and I saw, 20 men, Brett Whitfield, somebody. I don't remember who it was. I follow a lot of Detroit writers. Somebody said that, Sam Martin was activated for this game and never took the field. They never used them. I was like, whoa, please. During the game, it didn't even dawn on me. I never even noticed it. So, I mean, that's pretty outstanding.
Well, I was going to say, that was one thing. It never dawned on me at all when I was watching the game, because I was thinking to myself, like, okay. And then I was kind of being kind of the half-cocked jerk that I can be on Twitter. But I was scrolling through and I see Ian Rappaport say, this is the first time ever an opponent has never punted at Lambeau. And I was like, huh. That's kind of neat. That is kind of fun. The fact that the Lions are that team, using a wrestling term, they're the one in, 201 for teams that have, well, I guess it would be, they are the one in, 31-1, because there's 32 teams now in the NFL that, has never punted at Lambeau Field. So, yeah, I mean, it's something like that you don't really pay attention to as the game's going on. It's kind of like a no-hitter when you're at the ballpark and you're like, you kind of sit there in the sixth inning and you think, huh, has the other team actually gotten a hit? And you look at the scoreboard and then someone next to you goes, thanks for ruining it, jerk. And you're like, sorry. I was honestly curious. I apologize. And I bring that up because that actually happened to me at Comerica 2 years ago. But it was, it's just one of those moments where you kind of think to yourself, you're like, huh, okay, oh, all right. Yeah, that's kind of neat. But, let's move ahead because obviously they're Lions 4-4. The schedule gets a heck of a lot easier. You want to prove that you can win the division. The run starts now. And Matthew Stafford even said that, they were playing their best football when they were looking at it week to week, which I don't know why you would look ahead. But one thing that's encouraging is, I know last week we talked about it, but could this be the week Taylor Decker comes back? I hope it is, because I think this team is going to look so incredibly better with Decker at left tackle. And I even tweeted about it during the Lions game, just watching the game and just thinking to myself, wow, I'm curious to see this offensive line with everyone that's supposed to be there. But do you think this is the week, Marty, that Decker comes back, or do you think we have to wait until the Lions travel to the Windy City?
I hope it's this week because I want to see him, like I said last week, even if it's on a pitch count, bring him in, just get him acclimated, get him back in quote-unquote game shape. I don't know. I don't see them putting him back in there against Myles Garrett. I just don't. Myles Garrett, even though he's only played 4 games, I believe it is, Myles Garrett has looked every bit the part of the number 1 overall pick. He's been outstanding, and I don't think I want a guy who's been hurt and hasn't played. I don't think I want him coming in and starting right away. I'm torn. Yes, I want to see him back, but at the same time, do I want to see him back if he's not 100% against Myles Garrett? Yikes. I don't know. I mean, I hope he's back, and I hope he's healthy, and I hope he's ready to go, but I don't want them to rush him back by any means.
Well, that's the thing. You bring that up. You bring Myles Garrett up, and that's right when I hear you talk about. I'm like, that's the exact reason why I want Taylor Decker back. He would be a guy that would help, kind of mitigate any type of pass rush. But I will say this: it's something that on Monday, Matthews was held in check a lot off the edge, and they were using him against the left tackle, and he wasn't getting home a lot. So maybe that's, again, I don't know how encouraging you look at it, but Myles Garrett, when he's healthy, is a game-changing player, and that's why I'm hoping Taylor Decker comes back, and I've never hoped or wished ever for an Ohio State player in my life to come back and play football in any stretch of the imagination. Mike Weber is different because I covered him in high school, but yeah, I've never, as a Michigan alum and and proud supporter of that football team, I've never ever uttered the words, I want to see this Ohio State player back and on the field. But Taylor Decker definitely is the first person I've ever said that about. So for that reason alone, I hope Decker comes back, because it's something that I know the Lions are not going to rush him because he's a very valuable piece to the puzzle. And if you can get him 100% healthy and maybe even wait until the shortened week, on Thanksgiving against the Vikings, where it's a truly pinnacle game,
Yep.
I could see that as well. But with a rookie like Myles Garrett, that's why I wouldn't mind seeing Taylor Decker, because as you pointed out, the bright spot of the Cleveland Browns is its defense. They ranked 9th overall on defense, 4th against the run, 17 against the pass, and as you said so eloquently, Marty, number 1 in the league with an average of 2.9 yards allowed per rushing attempt. So that's why, hope to God, Taylor Decker is back. But the Browns are a team that's intriguing. I mean, they've played teams like the Steelers close. Granted, they lost that game. They are 0-8. So are the 49ers, and a lot of people are saying both of these teams are capable of going very Lion-esque, 0-16, which I don't really believe. But
No, I don't either.
yeah, rookie, they still are. They don't know what they want to do with Deshaun Kaiser. Kevin Hogan and Cody Kessler, they're all shuffling these guys around for whatever reason.
I know what they should do with Kaiser, but they should let the kid play.
You would
They
think.
Second round. I mean, he's clearly their quote unquote, for lack of a better term, franchise quarterback. I mean, Jackson said, "Well, I'm not worried about his confidence. You guys keep saying confidence." That's what he was talking to the press. I'm not worried about his confidence. I'm worried about winning games. Well, Cody Kessler's not winning you games. Kevin Hogan's not winning you games. Those guys are going to be backup journeymen at best. Mm-hmm. Kaiser has the potential to be the real deal, and you sit him every time he farts. Like, I don't get it. Like, you gave Johnny Manziel a longer leash in Cleveland. I don't get it. Like, anytime Kaiser does anything, they're like, sit down, you're done. You knocked over that Gatorade bottle, sit down. I don't get it. And just let the kid play. You're never going to get this kid developed if his ass is on the sideline. It's just not going to happen.
Well, and I will say this, when he's actually played and started to get comfortable, he actually looks serviceable. But
Exactly.
we're also talking about the same front office that sabotaged itself when Hugh Jackson wanted to trade for former Alabama quarterback A.J. McCarron, and the front office was like, nope, we're not doing that. Sorry, bye. And I know that was a big storyline, last week, outside of, hey, are the Lions going to trade Eric Ebron or not? But it was one of the things that you just heard everywhere, that the Browns agreed in principle to trade for A.J. McCarron. Then all of a sudden, in the 12th hour, or 25th hour, whatever you want to call it, the front office was like, nope, we're not going to call the league. Bye. Like, it is the most head-scratching thing ever. And it just shows how inept that the Browns organization is. Now, I know, granted, Detroit hasn't won a title. They're among the teams that haven't been to the Super Bowl. And, the Browns and Lions were great in the 50s, have sucked ever since. But at least the Lions organization has never been that inept where they've completed trades before, but then all of a sudden they just magically forget how to trade for an upgrade in quarterback. Like, it was the biggest just head-scratching decision because you're just thinking to yourself, you're like, you know how to complete trades. This front office has done trades before. Why now? And then all these stories now are coming out in the Cleveland Plain Dealer and everything like that, where there was emails coming out from inside the organization saying how stupid these people are and what they've done to kind of sabotage this deal. And you're just reading all of this stuff and you're just like, the Lions have been bad, but they've never been that bad. Granted, you still hired Matt Millen, who wrecked this franchise for the better part of 15 years, but still, it's never gotten to the point where you drop the ball on a trade that could actually help your team. That's never happened, at least that I can remember, and it happened in Cleveland. So, again, Lions should win, and we know that they're not going to run the football very well, but at least the Browns have pieces that are exciting. Marty, you mentioned Deshaun Kaiser. If we get to see him play, that would be fun. But I know Michigan fans around here, Jabril Peppers has been out with injury. He might play again. Since the game is going to be in Detroit, it's enticing having the former Wolverine back in town. So that's exciting. One thing that kind of scares me a little bit, even though he hasn't really done much, Njoku as a tight end, still very athletic, can be a guy that can terrorize this defense because we all know how good the Lions defense is at covering the tight end position. He's a guy that could really help this team. Not saying that he's going to be an X factor, but you never know. It's just, I
actually think he's the perfect X factor because this is around the time of year you want to see your rookie tight ends and rookie receivers really starting to come into their own. And, plus I also, and I'll go to my grave saying this, it also depends on who the quarterback is. If you've got a quarterback that's going to throw the ball to the tight end and that did it in college quite a bit, then you're going to see a tight end produce.
Yeah.
He's a good safety valve check down kind of guy. By now he should have his assignments pretty much known. He should have the playbook down, not to a T, but he should know that pretty well. So I think that kind of makes him the perfect X factor because and I say this kind of jokingly, but this could also be his coming out party because he's done nothing all season. I think he has 4 catches or something on the year or whatever. Mm-hmm. He hasn't done really much of anything. But knowing this Lions team, this could also be his come out, his welcoming party. So who knows? Who knows what Njoku's going to do?
Yeah, I mean that's something. And I know there's 2 Brown cornerbacks that have just been added to the injured list this past week. One injury for the Lions that was interesting. We've been wondering what's been plaguing Ziggy Ansah all year, and it's not his knee, it's his back, allegedly. So, now this is a joke, no one take me seriously, but your back starts to give out if you're over 30. Just, I hope some people at least chuckled and didn't roll their eyes so hard that they rolled outside of their head. But in all seriousness, it's something that, you look at it. We know Ebron's probably not going to be back after this year. If he is, it would be shocking. I think it would be the worst. Not the worst, because I think it's still the worst signing Bob Quinn's done so far in his tenure is extending Jim Caldwell. But, seeing what they can do with Ziggy Ansah, who still hasn't been healthy now in 3 seasons, you kind of wonder what's going to happen there. because, Marty, we were talking about it before we started the show. Bob Quinn's really close to just being able to draft whoever he wants because he's done a pretty darn good job, at least in his first 2 years, filling holes that he can, so he can just get best player available at any spot in the round, in any round. Basically, first round, it could be a stud wide receiver. It could be, a nice running back. It could basically be whoever before, everyone would just throw their hands up and be like, oh, my God, this is stupid. But, yeah, I mean, outside of that, again, the Lions should win. The Lions should win this game and start rolling and becoming a playoff team because, to put it nicely, they kind of have to. There's no excuse to not finish the year ahead of the Vikings or Packers and win this division. Because I am sick and tired of the Lions being a wild card team. I want the Lions to actually show that they can do something. And hanging a banner in Ford Field at the start of next year saying you won the NFC North, I think would be a nice step and a nice ceremony, for this city and for this fan base. That, quite honestly, we have yet to see. The only thing that this town can really celebrate is that usually on Thanksgiving you pull out wins that you're not supposed to. But I mean, outside of that, it's been crazy. But one story that was interesting before we get to the other story that's really interesting. Did you see, Marty? Jerry Jones is now planning to sue Roger Goodell and hold his contract extension hostage.
No, I didn't see that at all.
Yeah, it was an exclusive by the New York Times, basically saying that Jerry Jones is said to have hired a lawyer, David Bowles, to block Roger Goodell's contract extension. So it's something that is really interesting because when Tom Brady was going through Deflategate, Jerry Jones was all for it. He was like, yeah, this is great. And this is what Jerry Jones said of the commissioner at the time. And granted, at the time, and I use that term loosely, is literally a year or two ago. He says, I think he's doing a great job, and I'm a big supporter of his. I've certainly had the benefit of his role as commissioner and being, penalized in the past, but I'm a big supporter of his. I know one of his best qualities is fairness. Except you're blocking a contract extension because you think he's, quote unquote, being unfair with this whole Zeke Elliott situation. He's been on record a couple of times saying as much. So that's been interesting. And wait a minute, Marty, you hear that?
That
Can't. No.
That can't be him.
No, that can't. No. Yeah, that's it. That's Teddy Bridgewater's music. He's been activated. And Marty, you kind of alluded to it earlier in the podcast, earlier in the show. Sam Bradford's on IR. Who's replacing him? Teddy Bridgewater. So I ask you what I asked you last week. Do you think that helps or hinders the Vikings, who sit at 6-2 in the NFC North? Do you think that, obviously, I think Teddy Bridgewater was the best quarterback out of the three that the Vikings had. Granted, you can still ease him in and still play Case Keenum, but I highly doubt you would do that. But you never know. You do have a nice, comfortable lead with the NFC North heading in, and maybe the first time we see Teddy Bridgewater is on Thanksgiving. But I'll ask you, after hearing that news, what do you think are the Lions' chances of still taking the NFC North? Because I did a Twitter poll about this, and I'll give the results. But what are your thoughts, confidence level, what have you, whatever you want to call it, that the Lions can still overtake the NFC North, even with Teddy Bridgewater now activated in Minnesota?
I think the chances are still good. I don't think their offensive dynamic changes at all. I think Bridgewater, he's lost a year of his career because he was hurt. So maybe was it a year or 2 years?
No, it was a year.
Okay, it was a year. So I think
Well, a
he
year and a
lost
half.
a year.
We'll say a year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's lost a year and a half of his career, and I don't think it's going to be much different than when Keenum's under center, to be honest with you, for a couple of reasons. Teddy can't throw the ball downfield, which is what their receivers specialize in. Mm-hmm. They don't really have, outside of Adam Thielen, they don't really have any receivers. I mean, they have Rudolph, but Rudolph's the kind of guy who's going to make a play over the middle of the field and then stretch it out. But I think their passing game pretty much stays the same with Bridgewater, whether it's him or Keenan under center.
Yeah, and plus Dalvin Cook is still nursing an injury, so he's not back yet. But I did a Twitter poll because just again I was having fun with it, and whenever I do a poll of confidence, because I did one for the Monday night game, I do very confident, which is 75% to 100%. Marty, I think you would fall into that category based on your answer, which is cool. Somewhat is still 50% to 75%. Is 25 to 50%, and what is 0 to 25%? So it's actually surprising. So far, the people that have voted, 35% went with the what answer. 10% said, I still think the Lions have a good chance of stealing the NFC North. 10% also say somewhat, and 45% side with you, Marty Stouffer, that the Lions are still going to make a run and steal the NFC North. And if I was a betting man, and I kind of am, I would, if there was odds in Vegas that the Lions were going to still win the NFC North, I would still take it right now. I would put money on that because I think their schedule just sets up way too nicely for them not to, and especially if Aaron Rodgers is still doubtful to come back. And here's the best part about it too. When Aaron Rodgers got hurt in 2013, when the Vikings won the division, I think it was the Vikings won the division. The Lions were still trying to get the division as well. No, and it was one of the things that the Packers were still in contention for the division. So when he was healthy, they got Rodgers back on the field. Well, except this time around, I don't think that's the case. We saw what the Packers were like. I don't think the Packers are going, and right now they're 4-4, but they're trending in the opposite direction. Granted, they have the Bears, Ravens next, but I think the Bears could beat the Packers. I think the Steelers could beat the Packers. I know the Panthers can beat the Packers. And I know the Vikings could beat the Packers, and that's before Aaron Rodgers even comes back. So you're looking at best an 8-8 team, which is not going to be good enough to win the division. I still would not be surprised, especially after seeing what they have in, with their quarterbacks and their situation. Just let Aaron Rodgers heal. Let him come back next year. I mean, you have nothing to play for. You're not going to be in the wild card race. You're not going to be in the division race. Let the guy heal completely. Let him go through an offseason of full rehab, and even this year going through full rehab, and come out swinging next year. I mean, I could honestly see the Packers doing that. Because at some point, you still need to see what you have in Brett Hundley. And outside of that, you don't have any quarterback depth. So unless the Packers were still close somehow in the division race, I don't see Rodgers playing in the final game of the year. So, yeah, I honestly think that the Lions could up and run and take this division. Like I said, if I was a betting man, and I've known to frequent a casino every now and then, if there's a betting line out there, granted, if you lose, that's on you because you don't have to make that bet. But I would put some money down just to have some fun with it. But, and also one thing too, I did watch the Josh Gordon video, Marty, that you sent. It was nice to see. There was something that was really interesting when he said that he essentially did drugs like the day of a game, and there was a question when he was in his rehab stint where they were like, so basically your coach dropping the ball one time was why you got suspended. And this was a great answer because it shows he's actually taking rehab seriously. He's like, well, actually, no, it wasn't my coach's fault. It was my fault for taking drugs in the first place that got me suspended. Right when I heard that, I was like, okay, maybe I can take this comeback a little bit more seriously. But it was good to see. It was a good video. I'm glad you shared it with me. I did enjoy it. I liked it. And granted, we're not going to see him back against the Lions, but it'd be nice to see him come back and see what he can do with the rest of his career. I'll definitely give him that.
Yeah, I just want to see what he can do. I mean, like I said, he seems humble. He seems contrite. He seems like he finally gets it, and that's why I want to see him succeed. Because beforehand, I couldn't have cared less. But after seeing that video, I'm kind of like, wow, man, he seems to have gotten. Now, could it be an act? Yeah, it could, but that'd be one hell of an elaborate act because that camera crew was with him for a week, 2 weeks, whatever it was. I mean, you can't keep that up all the time. So I tend to think maybe he finally gets it. I think he finally understands what he's been given and the chances that he has, and I think he makes the most of it. And that's why I'm pulling for him.
All right, well, toe tapping like Golden Tate on the sidelines, like he did on Monday night. We are out of here. If you want to catch any other shows on Sports Radio Detroit, you definitely can. We're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're on Podbeam, obviously. You can follow us on Twitter at Sports Radio DET. Like us on Facebook. Give us a review if you want. If you're listening on an Apple product, give us a review as well because it helps other people find what you like to listen to already. But I'm Ben Salagi.
I'm Marty Stouffer.
And we say goodnight.